Hi, Jaden. Welcome to your second day. Can you hear me? Hi, Dave.
There. Just assume it's now. I'm just going to always assume it's muted, and I have to find. They use Teams a lot here,
Yeah.
but I like Zoom.
NKU likes us to use Teams, though we have access to Zoom, and I like Zoom better.
I like that you can send a message to somebody, and I haven't figured out how to do that on Zoom. I mean, on Teams, I don't think you can.
Hi, Alex.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
You and Caitlin could just be in the same room. You don't even have to be on separate computers.
That's true. You and Hannah when she gets here.
Have people trickling in, so we'll wait a couple minutes until everybody gets here. How's everybody doing? Oh, can't hear audio.
Old.
Yeah. I know that's changed so quickly. Anybody else have tricks for Jaden to be able to hear? Oh, she decided to leave and come back. I know something too. Sometimes if you have your Bluetooth turned on and your headphones are around, it's piping through your headphones instead. Sam. So is there anybody on fall break this week? I know
I am, technically.
David and Dave, are you too? Is it KCTC's fall break?
Yeah.
Ours was last week.
Yeah. I don't know who said that.
That was Alex.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You unmuted and muted so quickly I couldn't even see. I don't know. Was Bellerman's last week? Or is it this week?
Ours is on Monday.
Oh, you only get one day.
Monday and Tuesday, technically. But
okay.
We have Tuesday.
Well, that's not too bad.
Is it a KCTC? Is it a whole week or just a couple days?
I think it's all week this week. Most folks I've noticed aren't in today and yesterday, so I'm guessing it's the full week. Library's still open. A few of the basic services are still open, but for the most part, the place is pretty quiet.
Huh. Well, that's nice. Sometimes it's nice to have a quiet week. And I'm sure Dave's been busy the last couple of weeks. He's probably so excited.
And you as well.
I don't get a fall break. That's not how it works. Oops. Okay, we still have some people in. And Jaden, can you hear us now?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So I'm going to give this 2 more minutes because I know we're missing just a couple more people. I don't know if they're attending or not. But I'm going to give you our prompt for connections this morning, so you can think about it, because even though I know the question, I haven't even thought about it yet. So I was talking to somebody the other day about funny things, like funny or weird skills that you have that would be really funny to put on a resume. So I want you to think of 3 skills that you have that you don't put on your resume, but that would be a funny thing to add. So I'll give you an example. When I was a career counselor, there was somebody I worked with who, so when you do origami, you do the origami like little swans. If you do 1,000 of those, make 1,000 of them, it's like a special level. Like I forget what it's called. There's something that, like an achievement, I don't know, badge, I don't know what it is, but you get it. It's like part of this, like people who make 1,000 of these all know each other, and you become part of this group of 1,000 swan makers. And she had that on her resume, and we discussed like why you might put that on your resume and when you may not. So that's an idea, like some skills that you have that you wish you could put on your resume or would be funny to put on a resume. And 2 minutes have gone by fast. We also, so we have a couple guests in here, Alex and Hannah. So I'll introduce you guys in just a minute. You guys are welcome to participate if you'd like, but we also have a couple of new coaches. So this is the first time in the 1.5 years that I've worked with this program that every single one of our positions have been filled at the same time. So I feel like we need a little cheer for that. So thank you, Raveen and Jaden, for joining us and this group. And we're going to take a minute and introduce ourselves. So everybody introduce who you are, what school you're at, what area of the school you support. And then we will talk about our 3 skills that we'd like to add to our resume or would be funny to add to a resume, but that you do not. So would anybody like to get us started?
I will.
Okay.
I am Jaden Castle, and I am at the NCCS Muhlenberg County campus. Today's my 2nd day. So I'm not really sure which area that I'll be supporting. I know that it's been described to me as a student success coach. Dr. Brittany said that I'll be working a lot with non-traditional students and first-generation college students. My weird skill, I don't really find it weird, is I can make custom cakes. I don't think I would really add that to my resume. And that's the only really like off the wall skill. I can manage 3 kids and keep us all alive and out the house in the morning. But that's the only skill that I have that I wouldn't put on my resume.
Awesome. Well, I'm not the strangest. I always move towards the strangest, but what's the most awesome cake that you've made?
I made a 3-tier unicorn cake for my
Wow.
daughter's 6th birthday. And it was actually one of the best tasting cakes I've made. It was lemon with raspberry filling. It was delicious. The worst cake I've ever made was probably one filled with blueberry, because I did not do it right. And it just, by the time we got to the party, it was just melted, and it was a terrible experience.
Thank you, Jaden.
You're welcome.
Welcome as well. Who else is somebody else ready, or I can start calling names? So does anybody want to volunteer?
I can go.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lily Bennett. I am at Bellarmine, and I support the community engagement office as well as student activities. I don't know how I thought of these. They're just like the first things that came to mind. But I can solve a Rubik's Cube. which might be useful on a resume, who knows. And then this one's kind of weird, but it's I memorized license plate numbers before like the actual car itself, which was really weird. I don't know why, but it just happened. So like people are like, "Oh, there's your friend," and I'm like, "No, it's not her car. It's not her license plate number." And they're like, "How do you know that?" And then this one's from my previous job, but I can make 150 lattes in an hour. So we used to look at like the hourly sales, and it would tell you how many like espresso drinks you made. And one day it was like 200. It was insane, but I guess that's something if you wanted to go for a job at a coffee shop. But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Lily. Raveen, did you want to go too?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Raveen Kent. I'm here at Laurel County. I'm here at Somerset. And this is my second day here as well. So getting the hang of everything. Everybody's cool here. And as far as my 3 skills, I'd probably say, well, for one, I'm super competitive, but you don't want to like put that on the resume, but like ping pong, volleyball, any sports, any extracurricular activity, pool. Like I love to be competitive. I'm also a big like survivalist. Like I'm the type of person that could go in the woods by myself and, fish, cook, clean it, eat it. Like I love to do survivalist things and let's see. Oh, and then also like on my resume, like I know how to make like baby fluids and stuff and like make high octane medicines and stuff, for hospitals and like it's really intricate stuff that I learned, but I can't necessarily put it on a resume. I can't correlate that into anything. So it's like something cool that I wish I could like, vouch and say, but it's just something I gotta leave off. But yeah, just neat little skills that I've learned, I guess, and picked up along the way that I leave out on my resume.
I feel like I'll need alternative resumes for all the cool things we know how to do.
Yeah, sidebar resume.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, I'm just going to start calling on people because otherwise I will lose track of where we are. So Dave Burgess, we're going to start with you.
Okay, start with me. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Burgess. I'm at the ACTC in Ashland, and I work with Student Support Services. And just a little, basically, like someone else said, first gen, low income, but we also work with anybody in the school, basically, because 2 years here anyway, they don't really have a huge student support services other than the one that I work with. So funny type skills. I don't know. I'm kind of an oddball. Of course, I'm older, so any classic music, especially rock, I'm pretty much, know it. And entertainment. Mindy may remember this. Not that you're old, but
I am old. It's okay.
Mindy's got a good sense of humor. So Saturday Night Live, Ron had it was on, and I heard it from another office, and I walked in there and went, and it was Mr. Bill. I was thinking of Eddie Murphy when he used to do the Gumby skit. But I also worked my way through college working at UPS. So from that, I've learned a ridiculous amount of packing skills. So anytime that we have to take a trip or whatever, I'm, the one that's handling all of that. And people are amazed at my ability to pack and do all that. So that's about all I've got. That's about as good as it gets for me.
Awesome. I don't know Mr. Bill, so I guess I'm not old enough.
It's so good. You're too young.
Caitlin, you want to share with us, Caitlin?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Caitlin Barnes. I'm at Center College. I support the areas of like community engagement and a specific scholarship program called the Bonner Program here at Center. And my three skills, I really struggle to think of these. But I'm really great at like gift wrapping presents or like picking out gift wrap that goes well together and like wrapping actual presents. I'm really good at painting walls, like in homes. Like I suck at artistry outside of painting walls, but I like can do edges really well on walls, I guess. And then I do Sudoku every day, so I'm pretty good at Sudoku.
Awesome. I am bad at painting edges. I am so bad. Even with the tape, it always gets through. I'm bad. Okay, Jensen, you're next on my list.
I'm Jensen. I work at Bellarmine, and I also work in the Center for Community Engagement. And then my skills are that I can fall asleep on any plane or car, like very quickly, and I'll sleep like the whole time. And then also when I hear a song within like 2 seconds, I can tell you the name of the song.
You and Dave need to get together on that one. Did you ever watch, so this is going to date me, maybe Dave, Name That Tune. Do you ever watch Name That Tune,
Oh,
Jensen?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I
I
love
think it's
that.
like coming back.
Is it?
I think so. I'm not quite sure, but
I'm really bad. I recognize things, but I'm really bad at remembering names. So that is a skill that's a non-skill, an anti-skill is that I can't remember names of anything. Awesome. Okay, Sam, you're next.
The only weird skill I can think of is I'm really good at hula hooping.
Oh,
Like I can, I guess theoretically do it forever until I get tired.
that's awesome. That's an awesome skill. I tried hula hooping when my kids were little, all kids get a hula hoop, and I realized how bad I was. I must have been good when I was a kid because I liked it, and like maybe 3 times around and then it would fall. I don't know. That's a good skill. So Sam, introduce yourself and tell us where you're at and what area you support.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm Sam. I work at Bellarmine and I work with the first gen program and some of the learning communities at Bellarmine.
Right. Thank you. Ella, you're our last Bellarmine. Oh no, Cam's on the call too. Sorry. Ella, you're our second to last Bellarmine person.
Yeah, so I'm Ella. I'm also at Bellarmine. I work in the Office of Study Abroad and International Programs. And I guess my weird skill would be like I can finish puzzles really quickly. So I'm really good at doing puzzles like jigsaw puzzles. And I'm actually pretty good at remembering names and faces. So like I can always recognize people from movies, like even if I've seen them only once and like I know who it is, like who the actor is and things like that. That's all.
That's awesome. You're the opposite of me. I recognize, but I have no idea where they're from. David Thorpe, you're next.
I'm David Thorpe. I work at the Madisonville Community College North Campus. I work under the Office of Diversity and provide services for first generation, low income, minority groups, and sort of provide some basic networking capability for those people. In terms of the weird skills thing, I don't know if it would be called weird necessarily, but I'm very good at strategy games. So if it's anything resource management or like planning that has anything to do with something approximate to either war or economy, I'm pretty good at it. It's just, I think it brushes up my math and critical thinking that you don't want to put on a resume that you're very good at a game. And then I'm also relentlessly creative, but this comes with the caveat of I will forget as many ideas as I come up with. As soon as I have an idea, if I do not write it down, it is gone. And then I can also take apart like machines and anything mechanical really fast, but putting it back together, it's going to take forever.
That's a good skill. You just need to find somebody who can put them together quickly. You just gotta
Exactly.
do that.
But again, it's usually not going to help me very much on a resume since most of my
No.
jobs are not
Picking things apart.
oriented around that. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Joseph, and then Cam, you'll be the last.
Hello, my name is Joseph Myers. I'm with Somerset Community College at the McQuarrie Center. My job function is basically just the library services here at the center, helping students with tutoring. If they need any help with resources or finding what they need, I'm here for them. I would say my weird skill would be that I could look at anything and be able to have a good frame of reference for it. Like if I look at something and I need to know how big something is to like cut it out or something like that, I don't really have to measure exactly. I'm able to look at it and just go with it, and it usually turns out pretty close, pretty spot on. So yeah, I think that's my only thing I can come up with.
That is an unusual but very useful skill. Okay, Cam.
Hi, I'm Cam. I work in our Office of Identity and Inclusion. And skills I have, I'm decent in basically most sports, and I can play them ambidextrous. I can find a song for just about any situation or what's being said at the time. And I love shoes, so I can name just about any sneaker on anybody's foot at any given moment.
Awesome. I love hearing all of this. It's so cool. Like all of our interests in what we do outside of our professional life, or I don't know, maybe you can try to fit your thing into your professional life. Okay, I'm going to introduce myself, and then Alex and Hannah, if you want to join in and introduce yourselves and tell us your skills, you're welcome to. I'm Mindy. Everybody knows me. I can crochet almost anything. And I have, whenever there's been something like my kids have to bring to school suddenly and we can't figure out how to do it, I've crocheted it. So I've crocheted a derby hat once, and with this huge rose. I crocheted little leaves, fall leaves in France when we lived there. And my kid told me that they were supposed to bring in fall decorations and we couldn't find them anywhere. So like, whenever I need to make something and I can't find it, then I try to crochet it. So that's strange. I feel comfortable driving almost anywhere. So I'm the main driver wherever we are in the world. I just get in the car and drive. I've never driven in any place that's super crazy or known to be super crazy, but I'd try it. I'd go ahead and do it. And I can kill any plant. I love plants so much, and but just bring them to me to die. It's a great skill I have, is that no matter what I do, I cannot keep plants alive. So that's a skill I would never put on a resume. Okay, so I'm going to let Alex and Hannah introduce themselves. They are at Center College. They work with the First Gen office there. And so today they're going to talk to us a little bit and lead us in a little bit of a discussion about First Gen college students. I don't know how many of us on this call were actually first generation college students. So I'd be curious to find out just by a raise of hands if you were first gen. I was. We have a handful of us in the room that were first generation college students, and a lot of us work with first generation college students, whether by design. So like Sam works with the first generation office at Bellarmine, or by just working with them because they're parts of the populations that you are working with on a daily basis. And so we thought that this could be a good time for us to kind of discuss the first generation college student, what that experience might be like for them, and how we might be able to help support them through persistence and graduation. So Hannah and Alex, I'll leave it to you two to share your weird skills, and then we'll go from there.
All right, I'll start. Good morning, everybody. My name is Hannah Stokes. I work with the Kessler Scholars Program at Center College, a new initiative for first-gen student mentoring and support. The only one thing I think that I could be really proud of and could be really excited to talk about, and it's being maybe a good job benefit, is that I'm really good at maps and directions, navigating new cities and subway maps. I love that kind of thing. That came in handy, when you're in a new city, but it also comes in handy when you're trying to give somebody directions to get to you from somewhere else. So I enjoy that quite a bit. The other stuff is kind of piddly. I like nonogram puzzles, but I don't like other puzzles. I'm not great at packing. I admire that. Would have used you this summer for some moving help. So all of these skills, I'm like, man, these are great friends to have.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alex Wright. I'm the assistant director of the Grissom Scholars Program at Center College. Yeah, I was struggling to come up with things. As Hannah knows, I love like buying books and collecting books, but I'm really bad at reading those books. So over like the past like couple months, I've probably bought around like 40 to 50 books, and most of them have been given to me. I'm not spending that much money on books. But I've only read like one or two, which is terrible. I'm embarrassed of that. I go down like cooking show rabbit holes. So I know a lot about cooking. I know a lot about cooking shows and the specific like celebrity chefs and everything like that. And not too much about actual cooking itself. And lastly, I'm really good at like pressure navigation is what I'll call it. Like when you're in like a desperate situation and like you need to navigate or get somewhere, I'm usually pretty good at figuring that out. I'm not good at normal navigation though, so it doesn't make any sense.
That's so funny. That's so strange. Like the pressure makes you like hone in on that skill. How that's interesting. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing with the group. I'm going to leave it to you all to kind of start the conversation, and then we'll feel free to ask questions, everybody else in the room, or to kind of create a discussion as we're discussing. But I'm going to leave it to Hannah and Alex to take the lead.
Yeah. So we are really excited to have the morning with you all today, because we get to talk about the students that we all work with and the students that have kind of grown under the first gen programs at Center, and the students who are benefiting from beyond the programs that we've built. So we're excited to talk about first gen experience here and hope that it inspires some of your own work, gives you some ideas that maybe you can apply to your own programming or to your own student work. But like I said, I am Hannah Stokes. I work with the Kessler Scholars Program, which is a new initiative that Center's partnered with. There are 16 institutions of higher learning who are part of the Kessler Collaborative, and Center is a new partner this year. We have 20 scholars who are named Kessler Scholars amongst this first year class, and then every year going forward, we'll add 20 more. It is a 4-year mentorship program with one-on-one mentoring with a professional. That would be me. And then they have a peer mentor that they work with all 4 years. Then they also do a lot of cohort collaboration in developmental programming. And we also have quite a bit of fun. And because we're part of a national network, there is a lot of national networking that they get to engage in throughout their 4 years, including some specific summer research appointments, eventually maybe a conference for students, because the Kessler program was kind of born during COVID. So we're building it out as a national program, and Center's really lucky to be part of it. I would be remiss if we didn't point out our captain, who is not here today. She's homesick. Sarah Scott is the director of the Grissom Scholars Program and the Associate Dean of Student Life. So she has a big impact on our work as a first gen office, and we're sorry that she's not here, because she can give us a lot more history to first gen life and experience at Center, including the scholarship program that she manages. But Alex is one such scholar who can give us a little bit more personal detail about it.
Yeah, so some background context for like our first gen efforts here at Center. We now have basically 3 programs that we run for our first gen efforts: the Grissom Scholarship, Kessler, which is one that Hannah runs, and then Thrive Funds, which is not necessarily a scholarship, it's just $5,000 in funding. But really, this all started with the Grissom Scholarship. David Grissom, a super generous alumni, donated money for first gen scholarship, and that got started in 2015. And then that just kind of, since then, it was going so well, and we had such good numbers with our first gen students that in the past couple of years, we added the 2 other scholarships. And now we're up to a point where every single first gen student at Center gets some type of scholarship, some type of aid, and usually some type of mentoring too. So we're really proud of that. And even within the past year, we formed the first gen office. So now the 3 of us, me, Hannah, and Sarah, are our own office, and we work with the first gen club on campus. We're going to do a big national first gen day event. Basically, we're just trying to expand our efforts past just the scholars we work with directly and kind of have an effect on all first gen students in our community. And that's been going really well so far. We're super proud of our efforts, and it seems like our students are doing well too.
So in 2015, when the Grissom Scholars Program was originally introduced, the first gen experience at Center was fine. It was okay. But we realized there were a lot of areas where we could really improve our touch points in encouragement for student success, in mentoring, in financial support. So the college has slowly built up this commitment to first gen student experience and success. So the Grissom Scholars Program is a full tuition award plus need-based aid for 10 scholars every year. Then next came the Kessler Scholars Program, which is not a scholarship. Students don't get scholarship money, but they do have an experiential fund that they can access to help cover the cost of study abroad, research, and internship expenses, in addition to support for laptop and textbooks. And then the Thrive program was introduced this year as well. And Alex mentioned it is not a scholarship directly, but it is money students can access throughout their 4 years here. When Grissom started, our count for first gen students was not as significant as it is today. I was new here at that point in admissions. I was in a different department. But our first gen count then was under like maybe about 10 to 15% of the student body was first gen. And at this point today, 1 in 5 to 1 in 4 students is a first gen student. So we've jumped pretty significantly with how attractive the college has become because of the supports that we're able to initiate, not just through the scholarship programs, but through kind of the culture that we've set at Center for first gen student inclusion and success. So we'll start with some of the basic questions, Mindy, that you offered to us to kind of cover, and we'll kind of run through those. And as you have a question, please don't hesitate to throw them in the chat or raise a hand. Alex and I will just kind of do panel style explanations as we go through. But if there's anything you all want to take and run with, that sounds fun to us too. So first we'll talk about really how we're defining a first gen student. The national definition of a first gen student is a student whose parents did not complete a 4-year college degree. And parent is kind of a gray term for a lot of us who work with first gen students, because not every first gen student grows up in a home with 2 parents. Sometimes it's a guardian, sometimes it's a grandparent, and the family structure can be a little bit cloudy. So we as an office are really flexible in how we work with students in their presentation as a first gen student. We work with our admissions office to be really thorough in assessing a student for their eligibility for first gen support. And I think we're pretty good at that. But there are always a case or two where we find out, in fact, oh, the student's parent or guardian has a 6-year degree, they have a PhD, and it just didn't come up in the application. So we're always very flexible and openly communicative with students about that. And oftentimes it's just students self-identifying. But we do try to double check and make sure that students are eligible for whatever options we can provide for them. It gets muddier now that a lot of families are pursuing online degrees, especially in a non-traditional capacity. So that makes it a little bit more complicated for us, where we're seeing a student who's gone most of their life with a parent or a guardian who's not completed a 4-year degree, but maybe when that student was a senior, a parent completed their 4-year degree online in a non-traditional capacity. By national definition, that student is no longer first gen, but we really want to look at the context in which that student really came up through their educational experience at home and what sort of influences the parent was able to provide. And of course, I'm using parent interchangeably interchangeably with other influential adults in that student's life. But it is something that we're watching carefully because the online degree completion or late stage degree completion is becoming more of a common thing that we're seeing in our admissions process. Alex, would you add anything?
All I'll add, and I think Hannah kind of hit on this, is there's all kinds of complexities of this, and we see all kinds of like weird situations. For example, we get a lot of students with parents that have international degrees, and that's complicated because we're not sure how international colleges and universities line up with our domestic colleges and universities. So we have to really evaluate that, and usually how we answer that question is, is the parent working in a career field that goes along with their education? If so, that probably means that they had an education that led to a successful career, thus maybe not as much first gen. But we also have weird situations with like step parents. Like we'll have a step parent who has really only been in the person's life for like 4 or 5 years, but maybe they have a doctorate. So that's kind of complicated. And once again, we kind of have to do case by case with that. But really, we're not looking to take away the first gen status from anyone. Like we're wanting to find reasons to give the first gen status to people. And as long as they kind of fit the core of what we're working towards, and we'll accept it. Moving on from that, another thing that we've realized with our work is that first gen students have a lot of really unique characteristics, both assets and challenges. I would say mostly assets, but there's definitely some challenges too. So just to be honest, most of our first gen students come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So with that, you're getting a lot of students who worked during high school. And honestly, we love that. I think it shows a level of grit and tenacity. If they're willing to do that in high school, then they're willing to put work in at college also. So that's something we have a lot of experiences with. But kind of the downside of that is then our students feel like they also need to work and provide once they're in college. And that can be a struggle to balance that. And how do I succeed in the classroom, but also provide for my family? And thus, another thing too, and this is kind of also double-sided, is usually they have really, really strong connections to their families. And there's a lot of identity issues that can come up with that, honestly. So we have a lot of situations where they move to college, they're succeeding here, but their parents expect them to call back home every single day and tell them what's going on. They expect them to let them know what their grades are. They expect to have an active role in their life on campus, and that could be really challenging for first year. How do I balance these two things? Because they're in a completely new culture, completely new environment, their identity's changing, you're getting all these new friends, and now that's competing with their at-home life and with what their family expects of them. So we get all these things that kind of transcend just the classroom and the college everyday life issues, but that's what makes it exciting. And it's also, like I said, it's assets and it's challenges for these students. Anything to add, Hannah?
No, I think you hit on all of the things that we're seeing out of our student experiences. Because we're a first gen office, we see a lot of first gen students come to visit with us, and they're bringing to us questions about how do I navigate this experience, or I'm feeling pressure about balancing 20 plus hours of part-time work and classes, and I have to take care of my car payment. And so they feel these challenges, but the maturity level with which they approach them is really high. They're very eager. They've got great stories of leadership, but we might not traditionally see it as a leadership skill. So we get to help these students really fine tune those skills into productive outlets, because they're primed to make an impact when they get here. But that leads to our next kind of discussion point, which is their unique needs once they actually get to college. One of the major hurdles, and often one of those first things that makes a student feel kind of excluded or like they don't belong, is just the college terminology, the language that we use when we talk about navigating the college experience altogether. Registrar is not a word that many students know what that means. They've never used it in high school before. Maybe if they were at an independent school or a private school, a registrar may have been a person they went to for scheduling. But the registrar in a college campus is a much more robust role, and students need to be introduced to what that means because they're going to be eventually a person in that student's corner. Same thing for locations of buildings. If you're calling a building something that is not the name on it, that's very confusing for a student to really feel like they are at home at a place that belongs to them if they're seeing language that doesn't match with what they're hearing and hearing people speak about. So just general college knowledge about navigating the experience, the resources that are available, the language that we use to describe the experience. We have a solution for that we'll share that we think can be nice. And then the other two things are really cultural experiences that you as mentors and college coaches can really make a difference on. And that's creating a sense of belonging for first-gen students, especially in this first year of their college experience. This is unknown territory. This is a new adventure. And because of the previous two hurdles, language and college knowledge, they already feel a little bit like they're stacked against a success story. So creating a sense of belonging and purpose for them and showing them that they do have a place to matter is really critical, especially in the first portion of their first year. And then the second thing is helping them combat imposter syndrome. And this is a years-long effort. This isn't just a first-year thing that you heal and you move on from, but it's something that students will feel in ebbs and flows as they navigate college altogether. They feel it most critically probably in that first year because they're learning with entirely new classmates who might not be first gen and don't have the life circumstances that they're coming from. And so there is this feeling of, am I cut out for this? Is this something that I can do? It doesn't really feel like it. It doesn't seem like it. I don't see my place here. So we as mentors can have a really big impact in helping a student feel like they do have purpose and place within our institution and within our programs. One thing, I wish I had a copy of it. Alex might. And so Alex, I might have you look for it. We as an office several years ago decided to build one resource that would help with one of these hurdles. And we call it the Center Glossary. And I wish I had a hard copy to show you. But it's a front and back document that we accidentally printed on cardstock, but we really like it that way now. And it's a list of all the terminology that we realize these are words that we're using that don't make sense to people who are not part of the center culture, the center bubble, this fishbowl. And we realized this could be a great resource for first gen students. So let's make it for first gen students. And it was things like we call like Cowan sitting. That's a thing where you just sit in Cowan and you people watch. Or what's the name of this building? Because that's not really what we actually call it. So it's a long list like that. And it's a really neat resource that we realize is not just beneficial to first gen students, it's beneficial to all new students. So we've now started sharing it out with our orientation office team, and they share it out with incoming students before they arrive. And just to be able to have something that they can quickly, discreetly reference before they go to their advisors meeting helps students feel so much more prepared for engaging in the language that their advisors or their mentors have. So I did realize here is one, like Center Glossary. Oh, it buzzed out, but it's a great resource that was kind of fun to put together because we got to really reevaluate what our experience is like to step into someone else's shoes. And it has everything on here from locations to buildings to resources like our local Bluegrass Ride. It has stuff in here like Carnival, which is our spring celebration event. So this is something that is really probably easy to put together, and it's something that makes students feel so much more welcome and prepared for navigating the college experience. So I highly recommend it.
One
Anything
other
to add,
thing that
Alex?
the glossary is great. I remember when I was a first year, I looked at that and it immediately helped with a lot of things.
Yeah.
One other thing I'll add for like unique challenges for first year students is another thing that we really have to talk about a lot with these students is like networking and how to build connections for like after college. Because a lot of these students, some college students, they get here and they already have like family connections. They already have an avenue after they graduate. That's definitely not the case for most of our students. So we really have to work with them on how to network, and it's more so about how to take advantage of like basically every opportunity that you can get at college. Like how to go to events to take advantage of that, how to, financial literacy workshops, going to that. And also things like I'll tell personal stories. Like I was a first gen student, my sophomore year, my favorite professor offered for me to do research with her. And I didn't know what that entailed at all. So I was like, I have no interest in doing research. I'm not going to want to do this in the future. I'm just not going to do this as a waste of my time. And in hindsight, it was a great opportunity to do research on concussions with her and get all this great experience. But like with my lack of knowledge about how the system works and how like the research would look on a resume, for example, I just passed it because I thought I could use my time else, in other places. So we have all these like other weird little scenarios where it's just a lack of nuance with how the college system works and like what types of things look good for the college.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, go ahead, Hannah.
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Moving past that, there's a lot of assumptions that I think are made about first gen students. Like I was doing research on colleges that have first gen programs, and the person that was in charge of student life literally said like first gen students are just the same as underprepared failing high school students. Like literally quote like in their like thing about first gen students. Like this is so disrespectful. Really though, like what we find with our college is pre-pandemic, our graduation rates for first gen students was actually higher than continuous gen students. Our first gen students were doing better than continuous gen students. Now with the pandemic, it's about even. The graduation rate's about the same, which makes sense because the pandemic probably affects first gen students a little bit more than continuous gen. But more so than that, we also found that right now about like 30 to 35% of our leadership positions on campus are held by first gen students, which is higher than the percentage of first gen students that we have at the campus. So kind of what this tells us is that it's easy to assume that they're going to have a disadvantage coming in, but really this like tenacity and grit that they have because they're a first gen student and because like they're the first in their family to do something, they're already a natural leader. That's kind of giving them a benefit to come in and do well at the college. And we're seeing that here at Center, which is really exciting. Anything to add about that, Hannah?
Yeah. So with that in mind, that's really unique to Center College, but I think that's something that can also be researched on your own institutions. If you've got a great institutional research office, they might be able to look into that statistic for you. And I know for me, I've had to be really thoughtful about thinking, okay, well, if they're succeeding and they're doing all of these things, that means everything is fine. But I think if for me, it's kind of the opposite. I want to point to those successes for my first year students and say, this is what you can do. This is what you should do. I'm going to encourage you to pursue that. And I think that in turn inflates their sense of confidence and their kind of light of possibility that I could do something like that. I can do this. I do belong. And so that's what I'm going to try to infuse into my programming. And it's something I think that will inspire maybe tweaks to your own deliveries, but may also influence a little bit of a cultural expectation for students where first gen students are succeeding here and they're serving in significant capacities, and so can you. So I'm excited to see kind of that play out as we build out this Kessler program, but also as we boost our first gen experience at Center overall. I hope that might be something that you can take on in your office. So the next one is, how can you all best support first gen students? And so that kind of leads us right into this dovetail of things that you might be able to implement with your own programs or within your own offices. So role models are a really, really significant influence for first gen students, really for many students, but in particular for first gen students, to be able to identify role models whose stories really resemble their own is really important and is really impactful. And role models can come from all different points in a student's life within your campus. They could be you as their program manager or their success coach, but it could also be upperclassmen peers. We find that peer mentors are incredibly influential to student experience and student belonging and student success. We have a model for the Grissom Scholars Program, and Kessler is building this out, where we do a big little program for students who, before they even enroll, they're assigned a big, and that big is there to serve as a sounding board, a cheerleader, somebody to offer advice, and also kind of helps me know if there's any issue going on with a little's adjustment to campus life. And that family connection continues to grow as the program builds out. Grissom has had the Big Little program since its beginning, and it has really helped influence a student's network across the program and across the campus. And oftentimes we see the Big Little dynamic being really as influential, if not more so, than the program director and the student relationship. But role models are really critical so that students can begin to see what their future could be like. We also include faculty and staff in that as well. So we ran a campaign several years ago and just did it again this year to check to see who amongst our faculty and staff are also first gen. And we identified them through like raising their hand, and we asked if they would like to be identified as a first gen resource. And those who said yes got a postcard to hang on their door of Abraham Lincoln, who has a statue on campus. He's very pretty. He's like a good luck charm. But he was also a student at Center College way back in the day. He was first. So he's kind of our symbol for first gen experience at Center. And so this postcard is on a lot of office doors here. And we introduce it to first gen students at orientation and say, if you see this, this is somebody that you can pop into and tell your story to, and they're there to be open and receptive and encouraging. So that's an easy thing, a very low cost thing that you might be able to implement on your campus so that students can begin to see success stories around them that may inspire their own persistence. We're coming up on national. Oh yeah. Hey, Mindy.
And I just wanted to kind of reiterate that point. We talked a little bit, and some of the members here weren't able to go to the orientation in-person meeting in August, but those who did, we discussed connecting with students and finding those sorts of things that might help them connect to you. So if you are in support of certain groups of students, that identifying that and having it visible can be really strong. And that was my experience. I was first gen. I was actually I thought I had my Abraham Lincoln postcard because I was first gen. I worked at Center. I had one of those postcards, and I had it along with kind of a pride postcard too, for students to know that it was a safe space for them to discuss that. And I will tell you, it made a huge difference. And I had so many students say, oh, you were first gen too? Oh, and then they opened up in a much different way than they had before they saw that sign. And so it can be really strong for them. And even if you weren't first gen, to say, you know, I support these groups and understand, can be just a visual cue for them to like say, oh, I belong here, and somebody here understands what I'm going through, or will listen to me without judgment.
Right. Absolutely.
And it helped them ask what was seen as stupid questions, right?
Yes.
Like they'd always say, this is a stupid question, but knowing that I wouldn't think it was a stupid question because I likely went through a similar process, helped them ask the questions that they may have kept quiet and never learned about. So anyway, yeah, I want to let you keep going, but my experience with that was a really strong one, that identifying and letting others know that you were in support of their group in some way. That's
for sure
really important.
And I think the one thing that I might offer as like a follow-up, if you do have faculty and staff who want to have the postcard, I think it's brilliant and super influential just to be able to see a role model or an advocate in a space where you would not anticipate one, but make sure that you're talking with those folks who are taking a postcard to say, these are the resources that we have that first gen students benefit from. Make sure that they're prepared to talk with first gen students in a supportive way, and that they know all the resources that they should be sharing, so that then they are now part of your team, if you will. We're coming up on National First Gen Celebration Month. In the month of November is when a lot of campuses are celebrating that season and celebrating those students. National First Gen Day in particular. Alex, is it November 8th? I think it's November 7th or 8th. But it's within the first week of November. And I like that it falls that time of year because hopefully students will have kind of found their footing or found their place. And now we get to actually celebrate all of their big achievements that they've accomplished so far by being part of your community and those that are coming next. And so this is an easy way to make students feel seen, to feel welcomed and celebrated. It's also a great opportunity to educate your campus about first gen experiences and stories. And you can do this in a lot of really unique ways that are low cost or no cost. Simply tabling and passing out candy or stickers or those postcards is an easy way to help students identify peers that they didn't really know were also first gen. Because as we know, the first gen identity is an unseen one and is not one that we really get to talk about a whole lot in social capacities. Other ways that we're going to be celebrating include a first gen student social. The Kessler program has national network events throughout the month of November. I'm going to host a November service day for my Kessler cohort, where they can serve together and take their Kessler story out into the community. I'm going to post a resource that we took to a conference this year that had some low and no cost suggestions for how you can celebrate and support first gen students. I'm hoping it goes through. It's a PDF. Let me know if it doesn't pull up. And Mindy, I can always email it to you and you can share it out with them as a resource if you'd like to. But it does have some other really great suggestions in there as well. But just to be able to say, hey, first gen students, you are appreciated, you are valued here, your story is important, and we want to elevate that this month, especially. But on National First Gen Day is a great day to identify and celebrate as a community. And so if you can get other offices on board, maybe even your entire campus in some celebration event, it does make students feel that deep sense of belonging and purpose within your spaces. Did that sheet pull up for everybody? Okay,
Looks
great.
like it worked.
Good deal. Alex, you want to take the next one?
Yeah. Well, first, I would just say belonging and empowerment are definitely the most important things for our first gen students. I think most of the work that we do are just establishing a relationship with our first gen students and making them feel like they belong on campus. And then also, like one of the most successful things we did recently is one of our alumni of the Grissom program earned a Fulbright scholarship before they graduated. They had this incredible opportunity in, I believe, Ghana, teaching English. And so they came back to campus and they did an in-person session about Fulbright for our other first gen students. And since then, we've had like 4 or 5 scholars say that they want to apply for Fulbright. So a lot of times just seeing another first gen student that they know and can associate with succeeding does most of the work that you need to do. So we're just getting them to that point of encouragement, and then they do all the work themselves, because every first gen student has it in them to do that. We're just trying to kind of poking and prodding them along the way to keep working at it.
Yeah.
The last kind of question that we'll tackle. Sorry about that. The last question that we'll tackle is like what sort of like activities and like high impact practices are really beneficial for these students. And really, we pretty much hit on most of this stuff already, but a lot of the times it's kind of the soft skills. Actually, Hannah, do you mind taking this? I probably need to take this.
Yeah, I got it. So he's talking about soft skills that can be encouraged and amplified. A lot of those soft skills are going to be the leadership skills that we can see, the tenacity, the resilience, and persistence. And so there are a few avenues where you can help students identify those things and amplify them and direct them into really productive outlets. One such program that we found to be pretty significant for them are as like a summer enrichment experience. We hesitate to call it Bridge because we don't want students to feel like it's a deficit program. Instead, we call it a Compass Leadership Development Program, and it is for all incoming students. They opt in, and we generally have about 20 to 30 students a year who join us. If our student body is about 23 to 24% first gen, the participation of first gen students in Compass program is 41% every summer. A really remarkable participation rate of students who are identifying an opportunity to apply their leadership skills, join a smaller space on campus before they move. They get an opportunity to navigate campus early, to meet campus personnel in a smaller, more intimate capacity. They get to know the location a little bit better. It's especially relevant for students who maybe just need a longer launch into college. And so we've hosted Compass every year for 10 plus years, since well before Grissom. But we realize this is a space where first gen students can really boost some confidence and learn to really sharpen those leadership skills. So we offer some neat workshops during Compass to include diversity and inclusion discussions, how to navigate a hard conversation. We do Strengths Finder with those students, so they get to really identify what their strengths are, and then they have a discussion and a panel on how they can apply their unique strengths to life on campus. Specifically pointing out, okay, you have this kind of strength, you might be a really great candidate as an RA next year, so be on the lookout for that experience. So those are things that we really suggest, is if you can implement some sort of pre-enrollment experience for immersive leadership experience, or just warming up to the idea and experience of college, it's really impactful for their confidence, and really impactful for their early connection making, especially amongst new peers and some faculty who eventually become mentors. High impact practices, what we call those, are going to be study abroad, research, and internship. These may or may not be things that your campus is supportive of or has direct connection to, but these are things that are transformative for students, and just educating them about what those are early before they approach the opportunity. So for example, a summer internship, a student might apply in the spring term, but it's helpful to talk to them now about what an internship is, what you can expect, how it's beneficial, and why you want to be on the lookout for it, because the application process can be kind of rigorous depending on what they're looking for, or maybe it's in a new city and they have to plan some logistics around that. But we think it's really helpful for any student, really, but especially for first-gen students, to talk about opportunities early before they happen, so that students feel so much more prepared and empowered to take on those opportunities. For classes, I can talk about this from a Kessler perspective because Center doesn't do this, but Kessler strongly recommends programs initiate some sort of seminar style class for the first semester or even the first year for first-gen students. They find that that space can be a safe space for students to express challenges and frustration or joys and celebrations within their cohort or within a class setting that they're also learning at the same time. So some sort of seminar style experience, if your campus allows one, can be incredibly helpful. I know the University of Michigan does this for all of their Kesslers. They're all scheduled into a Kessler seminar, and it's like a 1 credit hour class they take once a week for a year, and then the second year they can choose to be like a student instructor, a student mentor. So that's something that might be something you can explore as a campus that will be beneficial, because then first-gen students are in a space to say, these are questions that I have that I don't think anybody else on campus is thinking of, but turns out everybody in the classroom is like, yeah, same question, same experience, same perspective. So those seminars can be incredibly resourceful spaces for you as a program coach, but also for students where they have a safe place to be every week. And it's also great to be able to like keep your thumb on them a little bit to say, everybody good? Center is not in a capacity to do that right now, but we do have those first year seminars where students do get to go through the paces of adjusting to college as a class. Alex, anything else to add?
Well, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for taking over, Hannah.
Yeah.
All right, I think that that probably answers those questions. I think that's enough of us talking. Do you all have any questions or anything specifically that you would like us to talk about? And we just threw a ton of information at you all.
We did.
It was so comprehensive.
There's a lot.
I do want to mention, oh, I see, Hannah just put in the center glossary, so that's awesome. I love that idea. I had never seen that when I worked there, so I look forward to reading it.
It's got some good stuff in it.
It seems like a very easy resource for campuses to put together that's really useful, or that might already exist somewhere, but that our coaches might be able to get their hands on.
Right.
I do want to mention the peer mentor position. So a lot of you do work with peer mentors or have peer mentors or advisors or some sort of peer leadership connection positions on your campus. I want to mention that the Kentucky College Coaches Program actually has AmeriCorps positions available for peer mentors who are helping support student success on their campuses. I know ACTC has some, Bellarmine has some. I'm looking to see who else is on the call. Those are the two, oh, and then Center has a handful of these AmeriCorps positions, and they're similar to yours, but they don't get paid. So if you have mentors on your campus and you'd like to provide them with a little extra incentive, they can get the education award, which is pretty great. Or if it's something that you and your campus want to start doing and you want a little bit extra incentive, we do have some of those available. And all of you are on member campuses, so you get these for free. It's free for your students. There are limited spots, but we do have some left this year. And if we know that this is something that's going to grow, that everybody's like suddenly like, we all want them, then it's something that we can request more of these slots in the future. So I don't know if anybody, I know Dave, you work directly with some of the mentors, if you want to say anything about that or add to it from a institution perspective.
I don't know. I don't think I'm really versed enough to speak on it because I'm just kind of becoming aware of these things.
Okay, that's okay.
We've got a
I know
ton of
that
people
you, of course, you work with them. Caitlin, you work with some of them at Center too. Do you have anything to add to that? I hate to put all of you on the spot, but I'm trying to.
No, you're fine. Yeah, we like in the scholarship program that I help coordinate, we have a leadership team. So that was kind of like our natural selection for those individuals. So if you have people that you're already working with, they're already identified as leaders, like that are already doing some type of like student mentorship, like that's a really great place to start with those students, I think.
Yeah, and they don't have to, they could be paid. They can be federal work study. They can be paid through some other means on your campus, or they can be volunteers. So I think that many of the Bellarmine peer mentors are volunteers. It's just kind of all over the board. So we would be happy to help support that if you have that and want to give them some more support, especially financial, but or it can be a great incentive to start something small if that's something you're looking at.
I will also add that Kessler being brand new, I didn't have any like bigs. I didn't have a class to assign bigs from. So I had to put out like a random call to other first gen students on campus who were not already affiliated with the program to say, would you be interested in serving as a big? And I got way more response than I anticipated because there's such an interest in students wanting to support their peers in the same position. And many of the responses that I heard were, I wish I had somebody like this in my life when I first started college. And thankfully, like I'm able to help support my students in their big little like assignments. I cover their lunch or dinner if they're going to go out and get coffee. I'll reimburse them for the expense so that they do that. But we're working from a pool strictly of volunteers, and they're all eager and really grateful for an impactful opportunity to make a difference in the life of another student. And I think that's a specific first gen kind of highlight. And I love that. It gives me warm fuzzies. Yeah, David.
I have a really quick question. With regard to your big little program, is it sort of like a randomized selection system, or you guys assign them accordingly?
So this year I had the capacity to like match them as best I could on academic interests or like activities that they shared in common. Some of them, so I asked my littles, how often do you want to meet with a big? Does it matter to you that you share an identity? And if it is, which ones are most important to match on? I asked them, is it more important to have an academic like relationship or academic like commonality or activity? So I had the capacity to do that. But as my program gets bigger, I might not be able to do that. But I also stressed to the bigs and the littles, there's actually a benefit to having a little bit of a difference. So it's okay if you don't share a lot of commonalities. But the ones that I did try to really focus on were the ones that would make students most comfortable. So specifically that identity question, if a student was going to be most comfortable with somebody who shared the same gender identity, then I tried to focus on that and prioritize that match. Same thing for race and ethnicity or geographic location. I felt like those were comfort level things where academics maybe is the next most important, but really the big little relationship is one that's meant to be like cheerleader style. They're not meant to be best friends. And I've not sold it that way. And students take to it really easily. And you know, with any kind of student matching experience, sometimes they hit it off and they are best friends.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes they don't, but that's still an upperclassman person that they can go to and ask questions of, and lean on for advice about what professor to choose for this class next term. But what really helps is that they are matched before they come to campus. So I made those assignments in June, and I asked the bigs to make contact with them twice over the summer, either via phone call or text or FaceTime, just to boost that little's comfort with preparing to come to campus. And their expectation during the term is that they meet up for check-ins 2 or 3 times a semester. And so far that arrangement has been okay.
Awesome. It
Yeah.
reminded me a little bit of the fraternal system.
Yeah.
Only because, yeah, you know,
I am a
I went
product
through that.
of the same. So I was
So,
like, this
right.
is like something like that makes a student feel like they have an in to the secrets of life on campus. So so far it's been a really productive part of the program build out. I see another hand.
Hi, I just had a quick question, and you may have talked about this. I had to step out for a second, but in terms of leadership support, I know you said you had the Compass program and then also the Big Little program. Is there any other support you provide for the students throughout the year, like other than just the beginning and then like their mentors?
Yeah, I think a lot of our leadership like development maybe comes from our programming that we do that happens throughout the school year. Kesslers get more developmental programming in their first year. So in our cohort meetings that we have once a month, I have themes assigned. And so for this month's theme, it was community connection points. And I invited some upperclassmen in significant roles of life on campus who are first gen, who could come and talk about their first year experience falling into community and how they identified their people. How did you find community in this place that is already kind of small, but is still intimidating to navigate as a first gen student? Our next month theme is about leadership development. And so we'll do some sort of exercise to identify strengths, talents, passions, and then we'll talk about that avenue on how to apply those in the spring term. Grissom program does similar exercises where they infuse workshops or like discussions or presentations from different personnel from campus and from off campus to offer inspiration or encouragement or guidance. Alex, would you add anything from the Grissom program?
The only thing I would add is probably like the most successful thing for us in this is literally just the students themselves modeling like leadership behavior. It's like, for example, we always have a ton of like RAs and like resident directors, and then the current first years see that and they're like, oh, this is something that I can do too. And then I had up all this great information they provided me, and like they're guiding me. My fellow first year students are recommending me to the position. It's like, honestly, that's like the biggest thing and the most successful part of it for us is just seeing other students do it.
Yeah, that kind of cultural expectation of not that first gen students can do this, but that you will do this. This is something that is in your story, inspiring that part of it, instead of seeing it as a hill to climb, see it as a summit that they will make. And so I like what Alex is talking about in just showcasing that leadership amongst their crew, their program. So what I'm going to infuse into the program as Kessler grows is have a Kessler leadership team that helps deliver the programs that we have. So it won't solely be me delivering every cohort meeting, but I'll ask my Scholastic team to deliver the academic module for that month. And then I may have my social team put together the January student social for students who are on campus for center term, to inspire impact within their group, but also so that underclassmen students can see their peers making a difference and say, I can do that too. I'm going to do that this year or next year. Role modeling is really almost the core of first gen student success. And if you can start that early on and then continue to present it, they are so much more engaged and connected and persistent towards that goal.
Cool. Thank you. And then I just had one other question. I know that you guys talked about earlier in the meeting, some first gen students coming from lower income homes. Do you all have like any type of support in terms of students getting food or like having a free pantry on campus? I know most do, but yeah.
Great question. So I would say about 20-ish% of our students are identifying as low income Pell eligible. And many of our first gen students are falling into that same kind of bucket of students. And so we're very thoughtful about just life support of the campus experience. We're primarily residential, so every student has to have a meal plan. So we really plan a lot of our programming around community meal times and are encouraging students, go get a to-go box from the dining hall and let's meet all together. We have a food pantry on campus that is utilized less frequently, I think, because of the meal plan and its access on campus. Feeding students in general, they don't really like campus food, but it's part of their package and it's already covered. So just encouraging them to be creative and to say it is there for you and it's already kind of paid for. So grab a box, let's get creative. I've heard students kind of have a competition to see who can come up with the most creative Cowan thing for the day. That has become a competition for some students. But our small free pantry is most utilized over the summertime. When we have students on campus for research appointments or for local internships, our dining hall is closed to them. It is open exclusively just for our summer like campers or our summer scholars, the students who are in summer school. But students who are on site just for those experiential learnings are kind of left out of the dining hall package, and that's an expense. And so our first gen office has funding that will help support a student with a grocery stipend. If they're going to be here for 3 weeks, we can offer them a little bit of money to help kind of cover their week of food expense. Same thing if they're using it for gas to and from Frankfurt, because they're living on campus for the internship and they're volunteering, but they have 4 days a week in Frankfurt, then there's some funding for experiential costs that help supplement that cost of living really for their summertime. Caitlin, Alex, is there anything else I'm forgetting? I asked Caitlin because she was a student and I know the food pantry was kind of like a baby of the Office of Community and Civic Engagement.
Yeah, we're actually not, so like our food pantry is just not allowed to be active during the school year because we're still residential and because we have a meal plan, like a mandatory meal plan for our students. But yeah, Hannah, you hit on everything. You got it.
Okay, good.
The only other thing that I'll add is we're in a pretty unique scenario with our first gen students that like every single first gen student has at least $5,000 in extra funding. So like fortunately, like we're allowed to use that money for like textbooks, for like trips home to visit family, certain emergency situations and stuff like that. And I know not every college has funding for stuff like that, but that's why we also focus on like financial literacy, getting them connected with good jobs, talking about like financial, well-being and stuff like that. So I think there are ways to help out that aren't just purely, I'm going to give you this money to pay for this.
Right. And our original thought was, oh, financial literacy is great for almost graduating students, but it's actually a critical discussion for all students, regardless of what level they are at school, whether they're first year or seniors, talking to them about smart spending and loan terms and credit cards and credit building. Having those earlier conversations empowers them and builds more confidence when it does come time for them to they've totaled a car and they only got a little bit back from insurance, but they're a senior getting ready to graduate and they're moving across country for a job. But they've gone through a financial literacy workshop 2 or 3 times with the first gen office. And so they now understand loan terms for buying a new car and they know how to advocate for themselves. For investing, we had a workshop back in the springtime where we invited a first gen alumni who now works for Edward Jones, I believe, who came and spoke to a cohort of first gen students about maximizing your benefits at your job. And here's what investing means. Those things were really, really powerful for students. I think that audience was specifically seniors because they're getting ready to go off into the workplace and sign their first work contract. So it was helpful for them to have that discussion by another first gen alumni who's living this world, who can now maybe be a resource to them when they're talking about making investments in the stock market and what that means and how to build that wealth for themselves. So that was kind of cool too. So yeah, David, thanks for that comment. That was something that I think we're realizing now is that we need to have more money conversations earlier on, instead of waiting until later, especially because we have students who are managing pretty significant workloads on top of academics. And that's a challenge I'm having with my students. Center in particular has such a heavy academic expectation that we sometimes worry about students who are working more than 20 hours a week because it's such a heavy lift, in addition to their academic workload. So we're very thoughtful about that, but also really trying to talk to our administration about the cost of college and what our students are carrying on their own because their families are not able to. They may have a great aid package, but they still have a bill to pay. They still have a car payment. They still have insurance. They still have health insurance that they're now responsible for. So these are things that we are learning because we're open with students and we're asking them questions. And so those are things I hope that you don't shy away from, because when a student says somebody sees me and they're advocating for me, they feel so much more comfortable coming to you with the other stuff too. And that other stuff could be like significant life stuff that you can help with.
Yeah, and it's part of life planning. A lot of students don't really know what they're doing coming straight out of high school.
Yep.
My area has a lot more low income, and incidentally, our college doesn't have like a massive bill attached to it. But the big problem is for them is they have had no one to really give them the basics of, well, how do I manage this giant fiscal load that I've never had before? Because for one reason or another, they've never had to interact with that.
Right.
And then they're also building their life. They're trying to get a house or they're trying to get an apartment. And we don't have those conversations early enough.
Right.
It's usually senior year when you're about to graduate. This happened at a private college that I went to, and it's also happening here.
Yeah.
So trying to convince the administration to start talking about that sort of thing early it's been a little bit of a challenge.
And that could be an opportunity to partner with maybe your the finance or the business department on campus to say, hey, are there any faculty who would be interested in running a workshop with our students? We will help sponsor it. We'll reserve the space. We'll bring snacks. We'll advertise. But sometimes students want to really hear from an expert. And so if there are resources immediately available to you on campus, I highly recommend starting there. And then from there, you can look for recent alumni who are looking for an opportunity to give back. Oftentimes, students feel like they're not in a position to financially donate back to the college because now they're responsible for a bill. So maybe offering them an opportunity to serve in a different capacity, especially to serve a population that means that they identify with, that can be something that is an easy resource. And you can always offer them, lots of thanks, but maybe a small token of appreciation for their time in putting together a presentation or a package or some references that would be helpful to them. We've utilized both of those in the past, and they've been really well received. Great questions, great discussion. I'm loving it.
I want to wrap it up now because we have a few announcements and I want to get everybody out of here by 11:30 as promised. I do want to thank Alex and Hannah for their time, and I know how to get a hold of them. So if you have questions, I'm happy to put you in touch, or if Hannah and Alex are willing, if you want to put your emails into the chat, that would be great. This is really helpful stuff. And I know the work that you're doing on Center's campus has been really impactful. I was there for 18 years before I left. And so, I saw the genesis of this program and how having the conversations on campus actually helped not only the students, but the faculty and staff too. So those of us who never even knew that we were, I didn't even know I was first gen. I went to college when you didn't talk about it. And I look back, and when I started learning about it, understood why I struggled or felt like I didn't fit in some ways, where other people just seemed like they were just born there or something. And that can be really important. And I was invited a couple times to be on panels. So that's something else that can be really done easily with your campus staff and faculty. And we would have really large groups of students there, and they would ask the questions. And it was really interesting even for me to process as a staff member, an adult staff member who went through this at one point, how that affected me and how the generations are different even. So some ways that our young people are approaching life are different than how I did and do, which is really, really interesting to see. So being involved and hearing their questions can be really enlightening, and helped me do my job better, I think. So anyway, all that to say, thank you so much to Hannah and Alex. And I think I saw there's a little bit of chat going on. I got something else. So Alex and Hannah put their emails in there. Let them know if you want to connect at all or have questions. And I'm happy to help facilitate any discussions too. So I have a few announcements. Hannah and Alex, you're welcome to drop off, or you can hang out for the next 7 minutes. But I'm going to share my screen and share a handful of announcements so that we're all on the same page. So the Serve Kentucky Accelerator, everybody has either RSVP'd or not. If you've RSVP'd as a yes, you're good to go. If you've RSVP'd as a maybe, I need to know as soon as possible whether or not you will be attending. Dave, I did find out that the hotel is not pet friendly, but Gail did say that if you need a pet friendly hotel, that we could book someplace else and pay for a different hotel for you if you needed to bring a pet. So we try to be as accommodating for your life needs as possible. So if you're a maybe, please reach out to me and let me know, definitely yes or no, or if you have some sort of question that I can help answer to help make that decision, then we'll need to make sure that we either do or don't or reserve a hotel room for you. If you RSVP'd as a yes, but you can't go, please let us know as soon as possible so that we don't get stuck paying for a hotel room that is not going to be used. AmeriCorps gear. So Jaden and Raveen, you guys will be getting some information about this. So hold off on this. But if anybody else has not ordered their AmeriCorps gear, please do so. If you don't know how to do that, please let me know and I will share that information with you again. Contact lists. So this came actually up in a meeting, and I want to thank Lily and Joseph. They have been participating in our co-creation team in helping kind of the idea is to help us kind of plan some trainings, but also a lot of other ideas have come out of that, especially about how we connect you all to our high school coaches. And so I do want to share with you that we do have contact lists for our high school and college coaches. So all of you have your own contact lists, and then the high school side has their contact list. So if for some reason you would like to get in touch with high school coaches that are in your area or something, you want to have some connection, you can go and see if that exists. I'm also happy to help facilitate that. But I do want to point out that we have this quick reference guide. It is in our Google Drive, and I will send this this PowerPoint slide out to everybody so you have access to it. But there's a lot of stuff on here where we have links, but if you scroll down, oops, I went too far. There is, under the list of coaches and program staff, a link to the high school coaches. And we try to keep that as up to date as possible. Who's there, which school they're at, what region, so central, eastern, western, things like that. And then their contact information. Hold on. I can't get to, sometimes Zoom, that little bar hides everything. And then there is one for you all too. So you guys are the IHE, which stands for Institutes of Higher Education. So you all are on here. Jaden and Raveen, we're still waiting to get some of your information. And if you would like to add your phone number, so people can text you or call you, feel free to add that, or let me know to add it. But you all are here too. So that is a way for us to keep in touch with each other. Event pictures. If you do anything like events on campus that you'd like to share out, we always love to put stuff on our social media. Or if you have something, you can always tag us too, so that we can share it or know that it exists. So we do this a lot with the high school side, and we haven't done it as much with the college side. So I know that you guys are doing some awesome things with your students and events and, things like that. So feel free to send those on to me, and we can get them posted. I also encourage you, if you're on social media, to go and connect with us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are the same handles, KY Campus Compact. And then LinkedIn, you would be able to go in there and connect with LinkedIn too. So you can always share, tag us there, things like that, and then find out what we're doing. So those are my quick announcements. I have 2 more minutes. Are there any announcements or questions from your side? Going once, going twice. Okay, well, I will see all of you next month. I will send out an invitation to our next meeting in the next week or so. I apologize for not having something regularly, like the second Tuesday of every month or something. But my schedule has been so crazy this fall that I've been having to choose the dates month by month. So I will send an invitation out for our next webinar. If you have any ideas on topics you'd like us to talk about, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. And then we'll bring it to the co-creation team and try to accommodate that. But we're really trying hard this year we only have a couple of returners from last year, but really trying hard to make sure that our topics are really relevant to you all, and to support the work that you're doing. So if there's something we can talk about to help with that, then that takes priority for me. So yeah. Jaden and Raveen, can you stay on just for a minute? Since you both started this week, I want to touch base with you. Excellent. Well, everybody have a good week, and I'll see you soon.
Working with y'all.
Bye.